I just woke up. I got an email from EBT. I used to get $740 a month for my two kids. And we not getting EBT no more. They took the EBT. They saying I gotta work 20 hours a week. I'm not working for nobody. Get the fuck out of here. This is what Americans, taxpayer, work for us. They work for me. They gotta help me feed my kids. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be quitters now. Y'all been helping us all this time. Now y'all want to tap out. Get the fuck out of here. I want my EBT, yo. I want my EBT. And I'm not working for nobody. I'm a boss. What the fuck I look like working when the government is here to help? Come on. Y'all send all that money to Iraq, Ukraine. Y'all funding all these wars. But when it's time to help the Americans, y'all don't want to help us? I need my EBT, yo. I need my money, yo. I need my EBT. Stop playing with me, yo.
Hi, Steve here. The division, the decay, the slow motion collapse of our country is all deliberate. The chaos we see is a sign of a plan succeeding. This isn't about blundering politicians. It's about a deliberate demolition. We have evidence that our leaders are engineering a national crisis for their personal gain, and you're the one who will be left to survive in the wreckage. You want to know how bad it is? Look at the reality they're creating. The government is spending itself into oblivion, burying the country under a mountain of debt so high we can never climb out. This is the fuel for the fire. This level of debt is how a country goes broke. First, the government stops funding the things that keep a society stable: infrastructure, social programs, and basic services. Then, as the currency becomes worthless, your savings are wiped out. When people can no longer afford to eat, when their life savings vanish, desperation takes over, and desperate people do desperate things. Next, they come for your livelihood. A secure job is the foundation of a stable life and a stable society, but that foundation is being systematically dismantled. Good jobs are disappearing, and the competition for what's left is becoming brutal. They tell you the economy is fine, but you know the truth. You feel it. This isn't a temporary downturn. It's a managed decline of the American worker. What happens when millions of people have no prospects, no hope, and nothing left to lose? They don't just protest. The social fabric unravels. Desperation is the breeding grounds for crime and violence. Is this just happening by accident, or is a desperate, dependent population easier to control? People are more worried about their future than they have been in years, and for good reason. They know the game is rigged. People are realizing that the programs they were forced to pay into their whole lives, like Social Security and Medicare, are on the path to disappearing. When the government breaks its most basic promises, the contract with its citizens is void. Trust evaporates. When people believe the system is designed to betray them, they stop following the rules. That's when a nation really begins to die. And what are the leaders doing about it? Nothing. The gridlock in Washington isn't a flaw in the system. It's a feature. It ensures that no meaningful solutions ever see the light of day. They pass policies that pour gas on the fire, enriching their allies while pushing the country closer to the edge. Every move they make just digs the hole deeper, making any recovery impossible. They're not failing to find a solution. They're actively preventing one, allowing the pressure to build until the whole thing explodes. America is a nation that can no longer guarantee the safety of its citizens. It means the government can't protect its people from threats, both foreign and domestic. When the state fails, a power vacuum is created. That vacuum won't be filled by peaceful debate. It will be filled by whoever is most ruthless. Some are connecting the dots, arguing that these political moves are intentionally destabilizing. They're not just breaking the bank. They're breaking the country to provoke the violence that will follow. If you're watching this and you see the storm on the horizon, you're not alone. Share this video. The only question left is, are we going to stand by and watch them burn it all down? Or are we going to stand against everything that they're trying to do.
So do you think someone has more power and controls the Prime Minister?
I would be very surprised if there wasn't higher power. I mean, we all know the funding that these parties need to keep going. So the people that are funding these parties have undue influence over our MPs. I think it's getting worse because the people that we've put in power, I think they are under orders to actually destroy this country.
Who would want to make this country worse?
People who like to have control over human beings, psychopaths. And I think if they destroy the country enough, there'll be people begging for help from their government. And I think that's probably when you'll see initiatives like the central bank digital currencies being thrust upon the population as the way to save us, because people won't accept those kind of things under normal circumstances. Yet in times of emergencies, people will accept all sorts of nonsense, as we saw in 2020.
The United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. It is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And this is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's a United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. And so many of us around the world think that sustainable development, it just sounds so great. Isn't it about recycling and creative reuse and creating energy and food resources for everyone? And the answer is no, it really is not. It's about moving populations into city centers, concentrated city centers, and clearing them out of the rural areas. It's constructed of non-governmental organizations, corporations, and government in order to dictate and regulate what it is that happens around the world. Regionalization is the stepping stone to globalization, and globalization is the standardization of all systems. All systems have to be brought into harmony in order to control them all. And the goal of Agenda 21 is one world government and total control from a central unit. The principles are public-private partnerships, which is fascism. And this is how it's implemented on the ground, is through this joining together between corporations, non-governmental organizations, and governments in order to cut out the actual individual, your voter, and instead to take that to a level where we literally cannot penetrate. This is a corporatocracy. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. While we are moving towards the end game, we are not there. And this is the opportunity that all of us have now to stand up, to speak out. We are free, and we need to continue to be free. And I do believe that we will win, but we have to become aware.
A gag order on 3,000 people. Evidence locked away. Every trace of that day erased. The witnesses are terrified to speak, except one. And today, he's done being silent. A Turning Point USA insider, a donor who knew Charlie Kirk personally, is stepping forward. He's violating the gag order because he says the cover-up isn't just criminal, it's historic. He calls it the biggest inside job since 9/11, and he's ready to name names. According to him, the rot started from within. Traitors inside Charlie's own circle, people he trusted, conspired to end his life. And the reason why is more terrifying than anyone imagined. 4th District Court Judge Tony Graff placed gag orders on more than 3,000 people connected to the assassination. That includes every staff member at TPUSA, faculty and students from Utah Valley University, and even bystanders who were present that day. Let that sink in. 3,000 gag orders. Covering up a false flag on this scale doesn't just take coordination, it takes control. Control over the people, control over the evidence. Control over the narrative. But here's the problem for those pulling the strings. The truth always leaks. And this week it did, big time. New, previously unseen footage from the Charlie Kirk assassination has surfaced. In it, an urgent voice cuts through the chaos, just seconds before the fatal shot. Clearly commanding, stay down. Who was that voice talking to? A member of the security detail? A spotter relaying orders? Or something darker? A handler directing the hit squad.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
This isn't background noise, this is deliberate, it's coordinated, and it's damning. We now have faces in frame. The next step is to put names to them. So the question becomes, what are they so desperate to hide? Why did they rush in and rip off his lapel mic before he even hit the floor? Why did they seize the memory cards from every camera in sight, scrubbing the evidence before a single frame could surface? From the very start, the official story didn't add up. They said it was a 30-06 rifle. When that was called out as impossible, they said Charlie was literally superhuman, with a jawbone so strong it literally stopped a bullet in its tracks. But when you look closely, really look, the so-called entrance wound looks a lot more like an exit wound.
Hey, why are there combustion fumes like from a bullet coming out of that camera's telephoto lens? Because when I enlarged it in my Adobe Premiere Pro video and editing, you can see the combustion fumes from the bullet coming out of it. That's not a real camera. That's a housing for a camera with a firing mechanism inside. It's similar to the one I found online, which is a CIA Stinger 22 Magnum pin gun inside a camera. And that telephoto lens has a suppressor, silencer. And it's literally the smoking gun. Where do you think Steven Spielberg got the idea from when the Israeli used a single barrel bicycle pump to take out a lady they thought was a terrorist who bombed the Olympic team? They denied it and said their crew made it up. I don't believe that. They are into espionage, and they do that kind of thing, just like the United States. Google it. Now let me run the clip and show you who the shooter is. I believe he had a black cap and a brown shirt, but with a collar. 17 seconds earlier, he was using the viewfinder, faking it, to take pictures. The bullet's traveling faster than sound. That's why you see the flash before you hear the sound. There he is. He looks like he has scruffles. I believe it's a black hat. He's also wearing a watch in his left hand. And there he is in front of Charlie. This shooter who's going to be behind Charlie with the camera gun is scouting the area to see Charlie's mannerism and what angle to shoot the bullet. Because if he misses, he's going to hit one of the audience people, and that's going to mess up the mission. And the one shooter theory.
Why did the judge place 3,000 people under a gag order? And here's something most people don't know. Judge Tony Graff wasn't even supposed to be on the case. He's a replacement. The original judge was quietly reassigned after weeks of being tracked and monitored by Israeli operatives in the months leading up to the assassination. Just another coincidence? Something is very, very wrong here. In the Tyler Robinson trial, a pattern is emerging, and it stinks of a cover-up. We told you last week that key players in the Charlie Kirk false flag, including emergency surgeons Josh Hammer and Tyler Robinson, were hit with Google searches from Israel months before the shooting. Now we can prove that both Judge Tony Graff, now on the case, and his predecessor Robert Lunin were also hit with Google searches from Israeli IPs months before the shooting. Lunin on May the 15th and Graff on July the 26th. For context, there wasn't a single Utah-based search on either until after Kirk's death. Coincidence? Or foreign intel scouting the bench? The coincidences don't end there. Lunin suddenly retired on August the 1st. Graff stepped in on August the 4th. The same day the Salt Lake FBI chief Meteb Syed gets pulled. That's not random, that's choreography. And here's the real kicker. Judge Graff issued a massive gag order. His own motion. No push from prosecution or defense. It silences everyone. Witnesses, lawyers, clerks, even unrelated attorneys in their firms. No precedent, no paper trail, just silence.
4th Judicial District Court, Utah County, State of Utah, State versus Tyler Robinson. This is the protection order regarding pretrial and trial publicity. So we have the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, is charged with 1 count of aggravated murder and other felonies. These are like the predicate findings that are going into the order. The case has generated and is likely to continue to generate significant pretrial and trial publicity. That publicity can compromise defendant Tyler James Robinson's right to due process of law, as well as both parties' rights to a fair and impartial jury trial. Pretrial publicity is of particular concern because it can taint the prospective jury pool. To protect the parties' fundamental rights, the court, on its own motion, issues the following. Okay, so first off, this is the factual basis. This is the factual basis to justify gagging people in the case, right? A lot of publicity. People are interested in the case. It might. Maybe it would compromise the fairness of the trial or taint the jury pool. Maybe it would. So independently, without anybody asking, the court has decided it's going to issue the following protection order.
According to OTP USA donor who knew Charlie Kirk personally, he's decided to violate the gag order because, in his words, there's too much at stake to stay silent. Charlie Kirk was silenced. Now the system is trying to silence anybody connected to him. But truth doesn't vanish just because they outlaw it. And as this whistleblower told us, if their violence terrorizes us into compliance and silence, they win.
Look, I shouldn't even be talking to you right now. Judge Graff slapped me with a gag order, same as everyone else who knows too much. Thing is, I wasn't even there that day. I didn't see the shooting, but because I was close to Charlie, because I was a donor, they decided I might know too much. So now I'm legally not allowed to say a word. But you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna say what I can, because this is too important to bury. People deserve to know. Remember after 9/11, how we said, never forget? Well, 24 years later, we forgot. And here we are again. Same playbook. The government using blood and terror to steer public opinion. What they call kinetic politics. There are folks, eyewitnesses, who saw it happen up close. They'll tell you, straight up, the shot didn't come from the roof. There's no way in hell it was a 30-06. But they can't talk. They've been threatened. Some with prison, some with worse. And the footage? It's vanishing as we speak. Phones seized, posts deleted, entire accounts wiped overnight. It's coordinated. That whole TikTok takeover thing everyone joked about? Not a coincidence. It's how they control what the younger crowd sees. They're feeding them a clean, filtered version of the truth. Straight up propaganda. In a generation, they'll all be brainwashed. A few weeks before he was killed, Charlie told me, he said, "They told me I wouldn't make it to Christmas if I didn't back off." He was digging into some dark stuff. Israel, elite pedophilia networks, the funding lines nobody's supposed to touch. There was this so-called intervention in the Hamptons. Bill Ackman was there. He basically told him, take the money, fall in line, or you're done. You know what's crazy? After that Hamptons meeting, Charlie told me he started finding weird stuff with his devices. His phone would heat up for no reason, battery draining in minutes, random feedback on calls. He joked about it at first, said, "Guess I made new friends in Tel Aviv." But then, he got quiet. Told me he found a second SIM card in one of his backup phones. Something he swore he never put there. That's when it hit him. The whole trip had been a setup. Every word, every text, every whisper, bugged. He said, "They don't need to threaten you if they already own your silence." Now he's gone. They're scrubbing everything, deleting files, wiping drives, bleach bitting the whole damn crime scene. And if they can erase him, someone that high profile, that connected, what do you think they can do to the rest of us? This isn't just a cover-up. It's the countdown to something much bigger.
Israel is not only controlling the feds, seizing control of the algorithms, blackmailing Congress, and paying US influencers to AstroTurf, they're also buying up the world's most popular VPNs. The tools people trust to protect themselves and their families online. This is massive. And the chilling part? Almost nobody realizes that VPNs aren't protecting you anymore. They've become a global dragnet for surveillance and blackmail.
With the click of a button, you can bring down nations to their knees very rapidly, if you so desire, and if you're willing to take the risks. Because every system can be hacked. Our airplanes, our hospitals, our cars, our banks. Actually, the most important word here is our data banks. They can be hacked.
When Netanyahu talks about data banks, he meant VPNs, the world's digital vaults, the places where we were told our personal information was safe. But safety was an illusion. Israel didn't need guns or tanks to seize control. They used boardrooms, buyouts, and backdoors. Here's where it gets dark. 3 of the 6 most popular VPNs on Earth, ExpressVPN, CyberGhost, and Private Internet Access, are all owned by one company, Cape Technologies. And Cape's roots? They lead straight back to Crossrider, the malware empire built by Israeli intelligence veterans. Now, the same people who once filled your devices with malware are charging you for privacy. And Cape's leadership? Stacked with Israeli military intelligence veterans. The same people who built some of the most advanced surveillance tools on the planet. Do your own research. We're talking about their CEOs, developers, and financiers, all ex-Mossad. The founder, Teddy Sagi, brags about placing ex-agents into his companies. We're talking about Unit 8200, Israel's equivalent of the NSA, only bigger, bolder, and far less restrained. He also hires from the Dovdadin unit, Israel's elite undercover death squad. Commandos trained to infiltrate, disguise themselves, wage war through deception, and carry out assassinations. These are the people guarding your secrets, the same ones who built the tools to steal them. It's not irony, it's humiliation, and we're the punchline.